Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. I have damn good news. Immensely damn good news. So, the Dakota Access Pipeline, a judge essentially struck it down and says, whoa, you violated the law by approving that pipeline easement. Let's be specific. In victory for Standing Rock Sioux Tribe, court finds that approval of Dakota Access Pipeline violated the law. Ruling, Trump administration shortcut environmental review, court seeks additional briefing on whether to shut the pipeline down. That's a major victory. That's an absolute major victory. And not just major victory, it was the right decision. Obama passed the easement. Now, we can talk about why he passed it to add a little bit more context, but what it boiled down to is the pipeline was up for grabs. You had a company that had spent just a ton of money on it and had a bunch of contracts and everything else lined up for it. So they wanted to get it done. They didn't care about the tribe. They didn't care about the land. They didn't care about their water. They just wanted to get their pipeline through. Fuck the human element. I need to make my cash. Now, in doing that, you had brave soldiers, veterans from this country, go to Standing Rock. And in going to Standing Rock, they said, we are going to get our ass kicked. That was one of the lead people. Because what they understood was those people in Standing Rock were being abused. They were being ignored by the wider media, and at the same token, they were being taken advantage of. Those brave water protectors stood up and said, no. They said no. You have multiple tribes come around, all in unison saying, no. This government, once again, is trying to renege on the agreements that they've made. You've already murdered us. What else do you need? What else do you take from us? What else is it? What else is there left to give? You also want our water and the last bit of land on this particular reservation that we have. It's amazing. You had this strange and telling scene of the first black president having a turkey dinner or staying for Thanksgiving, talking about the indigenous people in this country that this country murdered. While at the same token, those same indigenous people that president is talking about is getting beaten and bitten by dogs at the behest of an oil company. That is a strange reality, and yet that reality is telling in how truthful it is. You have theater, which is the president behaving in a particular way as if, yes, we value, this Thanksgiving thing. I mean, the very act of calling it Thanksgiving, to some degree, is trying to commemorate something and show value to something. When the real proponents, the real people who were involved in that slaughter and that massacre and that genocide were there, still involved with getting their heads beaten. Again, at the behest of an oil company. When those soldiers came in, those soldiers went with this idea that we're going to get our ass kicked by cops on camera. Now, nobody in this country, particularly if you're talking about a politician, wants to see veterans go anywhere and get their heads bashed in by cops. They don't want to see that. At least not on TV. Maybe in person they wouldn't mind, but not on TV. Obama, a few days before, called in the easement saying, well, easement, we're not going to grant it. We're not going to grant it. You will not touch those lands. Now, mind you, this went on for months. Meaning Obama let those people get their heads beaten, bashed in, gassed. One woman got her arm almost ripped off. One thing after another, just for these people wanting to protect their water. If you're going to put a pipeline in, that pipeline has capacity to leak. That leak could contaminate their only water supply. This is straightforward. Not to mention, it's their land. It's their land. The stuff of, we're going X amount of feet under it, doesn't matter. It's their land. What you're doing can adversely affect their land. So no. Those people came together and said, no, you guys can go fuck yourself. This is our land. You can beat us. You can hurt us. You can injure us. But we're not going anywhere. This is our land by right and by law, because it was. Trump comes in and immediately, get rid of the easement. Let's go. Let's get this thing going. I have money invested in that oil company. Let's go. Let's do it. I have money invested in that pipeline. Let's get some cash. Here's the problem. The thing that Obama put in for an environmental study takes time. That's not something that you can just undo with a magic wand. That takes time. The fact that Trump did it was against the law. I have a video saying it at the exact same time that he's doing it. This is against the law. It's against the law. By law, you have to allow this particular environmental study to go through. It doesn't matter if you're the next president. You still have to let it go through. So yes, it was going to be smacked down. It should be smacked down. Now, just to read some of this. This is June 14th. Standing Rock Sioux Tribe won a significant victory in today's fight to protect the tribe's drinking water and ancestral lands from the Dakota Access Pipeline. A federal judge ruled that the federal permit authorizing the pipeline to cross the Missouri River just upstream of the Standing Rock Reservation, which were hastily issued by the Trump administration just days after the inauguration, violated the law in certain critical aspects. In a 91-page decision, Judge James Bosenberg wrote, "The court agrees that the Corps did not adequately consider the impact of an oil spill on fishing rights, hunting rights, environmental justice, or the degree to which the pipeline effects are likely to be highly controversial. The court did not determine whether the pipeline operations will be shut off and has requested additional briefing on the subject and a status conference next week. This is a major victory for the tribe, and we commend the court for upholding the law and doing the right thing," said Standing Rock's chairman Dave Archambault III in a recent statement. The previous administration painstakingly considered the impacts of this pipeline, and President Trump hastily dismissed these careful environmental considerations in favor of political and personal interests. We applaud the court for protecting our laws and regulations from undue political influence, and will ask the court to shut down the pipeline operations immediately. The tribe's inspiring and courageous fight has attracted international attention and has drawn the support of hundreds of tribes from around the nation. And they're right. They're absolutely right. A ton of tribes essentially rallied around these guys for support. I think there's a lot of parts of this that's aggravating. That angers me, if I'm being honest. I don't like people being injured. Particularly not at the behest of some figment of their imagination. And for this guy to be like, well, we have a lot of money involved. I don't give a shit. I don't care. You can have $1 trillion involved. I would not care one iota. It's their land. That's the fair point. That's the fair, honest, and only point. By treaty, it's their land. I know the United States doesn't really care about those treaties. But by treaty, at what point is the United States going to start honoring the treaties that are put with the Native Americans? At which point? It's 2016. At which point? At which point? This is good. This is really good. I mean, people had started to, they weren't just protesting. I mean, you didn't just have these massive people there. These guys praying over the water source. These guys protesting, saying, no, you're not going to take our water. But they also had people disinvesting in companies or banks that dealt with anything that had to do with the pipeline. It was amazing. Around the world, people rallied around this particular focal point. Even though in the United States, it wasn't that well known. Progressive channels covered it. But that was pretty much it. Sanders gave his support. But that was pretty much it. That was pretty much it. Now, I look at that and say, are you telling me that the Democrats thought that it was perfectly okay for those people to get their heads bashed in, get their land stolen from them? Because if they didn't, and they didn't say anything, for instance, we're waiting on Elizabeth Warren to give comment. Elizabeth Warren didn't give comment until after Obama turned it down. Till after. The court ruled against the tribe on several other issues, finding the reversal allowing the pipeline complied with the law in some respects. The $3.8 billion pipeline project, also known as Bakken Oil Pipeline, extends 1,168 miles across North Dakota, South Dakota, Iowa, Illinois, crossing through communities, farms, tribal lands, sensitive nature areas, and wildlife habitat. The pipeline will carry up to 570,000 barrels a day of crude oil from Bakken Oil Field in North Dakota to Illinois, where it would link with another pipeline will transport the oil to terminals and refineries along the Gulf of Mexico. That's an interesting point, even though they didn't say it explicitly. That oil is not for here. It's not for here. And ultimately, this thing is only going to end up having like 13 jobs. It creates a few jobs at the point where they're building it. But once they build it and once it's going, it goes on its own. Meaning, you're going to have environmental impact. You have potentially disastrous environmental consequences if that thing spills. And they all, I'm not going to say they all spill, but the spill rate is astonishingly high. They don't even report on all the spills. So understand what I mean. Like, the amount of times or the chances that this thing will spill is high. Or at the very least, let me say it this way. It's not insignificant. That's the most honest way to put it. And if there's going to be a chance that you can destroy these tribal lands, I don't want to take that chance. I don't want to take that chance. It's their land. If they say no, then the answer is no. Keep it moving. But that's not what happened. They essentially brought pressure to bear. And whereas you would think the law would prevent people from hurting other people, that's not what happened. It was the law itself that was hurting and beating and injuring these people for sake of their land. Or to steal their land, I should say. This is good. This is good. This is damn good. This is damn good. They should be applauded for this. If they win this case, oh man, if they win this case. I mean, mind you, put it in context. They've been murdered. I mean, literal genocide. As close as probably you can get to genocide in order to take this country. So winning a court battle over protecting a small plot of land, that's nice. That's nice. But it's done with a certain level of grain of saltness and recognizing the full context of this was their country. If we're being honest. If we're offering any ownership to land whatsoever, this was theirs. They were here. We came here, slaughtered them, and took over their spot. In a small patch of land, a tiny patch of land that they've clung to like grim death, the government is saying, we haven't taken enough. We need to take some more. It's amazing. Alright guys, if you enjoy the content, feel free to share, write, subscribe. You can always support the work through Patreon. And one more time, congratulations guys. This is damn good. This is damn good.